Ladies and gentlemen, a toast to the life and times of the 3DS. Yes, the news has come out that Nintendo has stopped producing 3DS consoles. No longer will they grace the shelves of your local GameStop. Instead, they shall ascend to their rightful place alongside that PSP no one is buying from your local cash converters. A sad day indeed. And so what better way to celebrate the legacy of the 3DS by covering my absolute favourite game on the console, Bravely Default. Something I stand by even harder after completing it for this video. I mean this when I say I don't think I've had this much fun getting footage for a video since Dragon Quest XI. It was a joyful experience returning to this game for the first time in a fair number of years, and I was kinda stoked it won the vote on the Patreon poll. Go pledge using the link found below if you want to help support all of my future projects and vote in possible future polls. You're all an ever-growing comfort in these dark times, and I truly cannot thank you enough. I felt largely inspired to make videos on this game when it was announced that Bravely Default 2 was coming out on the Switch, much to my delight. And not this Bravely Default 2. This is a direct sequel to Bravely Default called Bravely Second, and Default 2 will be set on a completely different world. It wouldn't surprise me at all to find the sequel for Bravely Default 2 to be titled Bravely Third. And look, I get this may be confusing, but speaking as a Kingdom Hearts fan, everyone is looking down at you and laughing. Look at these fools, they say, chortling from behind their hand. A few more odd numbering choices and maybe their heads will be filled with so much air they can ascend to our level, united as gods. But joyful experience or no, even the tightest, most loving relationship can come with its fair share of hardships. And I'd be a goddamn liar if I were to say there weren't points of irritation, boredom, and flat-out befuddlement during my almost 50-hour experience. And I'm sure long-time fans of this series can pinpoint where a lot of these feelings crop up. In fact, it's one of the most common complaints I see about this game even to this day, and people are still unwilling to forgive it or give it a second chance due to this segment. A crushing shame, since the finale of this title is one of the single most enjoyable and thrilling experiences I've encountered in a JRPG. Enough for me to say with confidence that all of my annoyances were completely worth it. Now my goal in these videos, and you heard me right, I did say videos, 2 to be exact. One which will briefly introduce you to the concept, its characters and the gameplay, and the second is a straightforward spoiler-filled retrospective and will be much, much bigger than this one, is to hopefully sell this game to you all whilst grilling certain segments till they're a delicious golden brown on both sides, and to hopefully have you all forgive me for the 700th food analogy on this channel. So before I move on to the meat of this video, just what is Bravely Default, and how did it come to be? I first want to take you back just over a decade ago, when a game called Final Fantasy The Four Heroes of Light was released. This spin-off of the Final Fantasy series would get a decent amount of praise, and a sequel would very swiftly be planned out. However, as time went on, Square Enix decided they wanted something a little different. Something fresh and oh very modern, darling. Are those vintage Final Fantasies you're wearing? How very fashionable. And so Bravely Default was born. An RPG which the devs wanted to feel contemporary whilst injecting just the right amount of nostalgia from older games of the same genre to feel somewhat recognisable. The full title of the game, at least in Japan, Bravely Default Flying Fairy, has a double meaning, since, if abbreviated, you see that the devs wanted its Final Fantasy origins to be found somewhere within its title. In the West, we have something slightly similar, but only on the title screen. That being, Where the Fairy Flies. The other meaning, well, it's far too early to talk about that, but trust me, it's something special and is something that works in both the East and the West. You'll see what I mean when the time comes. So this game has and always will be a Final Fantasy spin-off, or I suppose it's a spin-off of a spin-off. Despite trying its best to separate itself from the brand, they still hold on to very specific remnants of the past, such as magic spells going from a simple fire to Firer to Faraga, etc, etc, and there are definitely more things to link it into the series which we'll touch upon later. Kinda surprising that Opera Omnia hasn't had a cameo from either Bravely or Four Heroes of Light, but maybe we'll see some if they get enough recommendations. Nudge nudge, wink wink. Now, the second you boot up Bravely Default, you'll be greeted with the team's effort to push the 3DS hardware. I'd argue they use a lot of features that are baked into the handheld, and whilst I'd love to share them all with you, some of them definitely count as spoilers for part 2, so my lips are sealed. As you can see here, we're introduced to one of the main character's thighs using the game's augmented reality feature, and as demonstrated,
wherever you are, whoever you are, please, you must listen.
It's working as intended. This is where I'll introduce the characters and the basic concept of Bravely Default. Though I feel the word basic is a word the writers of Bravely wanted to repel as much as humanly possible. And whilst this works largely as a positive, it does come with detriments that keep me up at night, as I ask myself how, when, who, and why regarding certain plot elements. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. The game focuses around 5 main characters. Tiz Aurea, a simple farm boy who doubles up as the sweetest little marshmallow to ever grace a video game narrative.
You're red as a beet, Tiz. Are you blushing?
Oh no, hearing it's all ladies here, I just got a little nervous is all.
Agnès Oblige, a priestess who set out into the world to awaken 4 crystals of power with her guide, Aerie, to stop the world from plunging into darkness. This is where you might think the story will follow a simple 4 crystal tier story that we're all used to. But thankfully, it mixes things up enough where it feels wholly unique. Aerie, whilst not necessarily being advertised as a main character, is still a very important member of the cast. I mean, they use her image all over the box art and promotional material, so she's sure as hell an important character in my eyes. A somewhat bratty but charming little entity, she serves as the motivating force and navigator for the group on the bottom screen, letting you know where to go if you lose your way. Next up is Ring a Bell, an amnesiac man who can best be explained with this.
No! Ring a bell.
Oh! Bad bussin'! You humping!
And finally, Adia Lee, daughter and traitor to a man who currently rules over a country named Eternia, who tenaciously hunt down Agnès, sending wave after wave of Eternian forces to capture them and prevent her from endangering the world. Or at least, that's what they've been taught to believe. Anyways, with that in mind, and because I needed a way to smoothly kickflip my way into a transition, ooh, look at him go. The Knights of Eternia and their allies also serve another purpose, and that purpose is gameplay related. I'm so excited to talk about this because it's mwah. These people are Asterix holders, and defeating them allows you to obtain their Asterix, allowing you to change your job. The job system is my personal favourite system to ever be incorporated in a Final Fantasy game. It's why I hold Final Fantasy V to such high regard, and why I unapologetically defend the gameplay aspect of 10 too, because it's some of the most fun I've had in the franchise on a pure gameplay level. The Eternians in Bravely Default serve mainly as mascots for their chosen jobs, getting these jobs by defeating them instead of awakening a crystal. Some of these are mandatory, enough so you'll get a good combination of healing, offensive magic, and melee damage dealers. But something I cannot get over is the level of optional content in this game, regarding the job system. On the world map, a yellow exclamation bubble means that this is a mandatory story segment, whereas blue is a side story and will, until the final few chapters, give you a new job. By obtaining these, you obviously expand your potential methods of destruction, but they also open up a new avenue for customization. First things first, you can technically select 2 jobs in battle. Your main job will continue to level up with you, and you'll wear the job-specific outfit. But you can select another moveset within the job command. This moveset will have the exact skills that the job has depending on how high the specific character has leveled it. And combining this with support abilities, buffs and perks that you unlock the higher your job becomes, you can turn the battlefield into your own personalized playground. Giving your ninja the Spell Fencer job, which can ignite the dual-wielded katanas in each hand thanks to the katana lore ability.
It's folded, tempered, and it does its job.
My Lady Vestal.
A black mage who can amplify herself with a sage's incredible buff abilities whilst also benefiting from the Black Resonance perk, something which increases black magic damage depending on how many other characters also have it equipped, giving a character with low defense a summoner perk that triggers a summon spell when they're brought to critical health, or a monk with white magic, so you can crush your partner's balls with a proper self-care afterwards, like responsible adults should do. So that's Bravely's job system, and whilst you can simply Google which job combinations you can have to make sure your penis is the biggest penis, it's always fun to figure that stuff out for yourself by experimenting along the way. And that's not all that Bravely does to mix things up. And as I was writing this segment, it really hit home just how ambitious this title was. From the outside looking in, Bravely Default's gameplay is a pretty standard affair. Another turn-based game to the pile, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what makes Bravely unique is your ability to brave and to default. As the title of the game. When you brave, you use a brave point. These brave points, or abbreviated as BP, can go to -4, which means you'll be able to use a standard attack and 3 extra attacks thanks to the brave mechanic. But you can mix things up accordingly, having some characters attack once, twice, or 3 times depending on the threat. The downside to spamming your brave function is the fact that each time you brave, it counts as a turn. So if everyone were to brave to -4, the enemy will have 4 turns to do whatever the hell it wants to you. CBT without a safe word is just torture. Don't let this happen to you. Defaulting, however, is your only method of defending, but my god is it useful. Defaulting will not only reduce damage dealt to you, but you'll gain BP, which stack up to 3. This means you can deal a nice amount of brave damage with no negative turns where the enemy can turn you inside out. This method of braving and defaulting can lead to some really fun tactical gameplay later down the line, especially during boss fights. Choosing when to hold back, when to defend, and when to go all out is especially fun after struggling with a boss for a few fights. The biggest newbie stomper being this dragon you fight early into the game. He'll devastate your party with large sweep attacks and can sometimes use them twice in a row. So making sure you have your healer preemptively default and ready to cast, let's say, a singular raise and a party-wide cure by using a single brave, and stocking up your BP with your damaging characters so you won't be caught off guard and unable to defend yourself in the negative. Eventually, you'll find a nice flow that you're comfortable with. But hey, I see you think we're done here. No, there's even more you can do. See, each weapon type in the game has special moves allocated to it. For example, defaulting a certain amount of times will allow you to use a katana's special move, or healing 5 times will allow you to use a staves. Now, in order to unlock more of these moves, you'll need to transition from being a sweet, kind-hearted farm boy into a tyrannical overlord with a penchant for forcing manual labor. Ha ha ha, I'm only joking of course, but the village of Narende's spirit will live on through the actions of others, as the rebuilding process begins. In order to participate in the Narende restoration minigame, you'll require villagers. You get these villagers by updating your data at a save point. By doing so, you'll get a random selection of other online users who will count as villagers when you enter the rebuilding screen, at which point you select a bunch of them and wait in real time as they start to chip away at buildings, which give you things such as weapons, new items from the adventurer who doubles up as a save point, and of course, special moves. You can even close your 3DS and let them work as you sleep, which means instead of waking up and enjoying the 1 second of peace before reality comes crashing down on you, reminding you how you never told Fernando how you really felt on that beach holiday in Portugal, and not being able to say goodbye at the airport because, in his words,
Fernando goes where the wind blows.
I miss him more every day. I unlocked high potions! Now these special moves also come with buffs and debuffs also obtained through Narende's restoration, and applying them before a boss battle can determine whether you win or lose. However, if you want a swift victory, you can activate the final gimmick that the title gives to you. Bravely Second is a time-halting ability that uses 1 of 3 SP points to activate. You can, if you want, use all of these points on one character or use them individually, but using Bravely Second will essentially give everyone an extra turn without the enemy retaliating, and later down the line will allow your special moves to break past the damage barrier, which isn't just helpful for you, no. See, you can send your limit-breaking attack and throw it online, where some lucky bugger will receive your attack and can summon you as a one-off technique with a cute little quote that you can select. Ah, a very interesting suggestion. I'll keep that in mind. But sadly, as with all things, there are hiccups. Some leave vomit on the back of your brand new sweater, and I'd be a lot more forgiving if they didn't do it intentionally. First, let's start with a nitpick, our old friend. Other than bosses, regular enemies don't really put up that much of a challenge unless you're on hard difficulty, in which case, good luck. So you'll be very used to spamming your brave over and over again until you reach something that will put a wrinkle on your perfectly smooth brain.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
And this is where we take a step from being a nitpick into a disappointment. Bravely Second, not you. Maybe you? No? We'll get to that can of worms someday. The time-stopping ability that you have at your disposal. As I mentioned, you have 3 charges, and afterwards it takes a lengthy amount of real-world time, both open and closed, to recharge all of your SP.
Shake, 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 Sinora.
This is fair enough. It's pretty game-breaking when it's fully charged, so you may as well save it for a very dangerous situation. As you use up your turns during Bravely Second, the characters will often throw out some banter or give you tips. For example,
I will handle this myself. This is divine retribution. While the system sleeps, we gain SP.
then there's this one.
There is another way to get SP without sleep.
Other than sleep, you say? Well, let me click the SP potion shortcut and we'll see what it is.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Now, before I press on, I need to make some things clear. You can beat this game easily without needing to purchase an SP potion. In fact, I'd argue that you don't need to use Bravely Second at all during your playthrough. The only times I used it were to get footage and to make the final boss go down a little bit easier. That, and the only way you can purchase them now is to add funds with an eShop card, so I know what I'm technically doing is ranting at very outdated microtransactions. I think what I don't like about this is the cheeky way they try to nudge you into buying stuff. If there's anything more annoying than in-game purchases, it's when they're coy about it. There's another way for you to recharge your SP, but I'll never tell. Why don't you go down here and find out? A deer in a tank dress. Who put that there? I hope she doesn't entice you to buy a fucking energy drink. Long story short, this is a baffling inclusion, and sure, whilst inoffensive, the fact is, it doesn't need to exist in the first place. Regardless, this is a feature that passes over into Bravely Second, and I swear to Lucifer, if I see something similar sneak its way into Bravely Default 2, God help me, I'll purse my lips and probably be a little annoyed about it for a few minutes before forgetting about it entirely. Please buy our SP potion so we can afford the central heating. It's the middle of winter, and a deer's very cold. Now, I can't prepare for the upcoming part 2 video knowing I left this video with a negative, so I'm gonna fire off 2 great positives. Firstly, Akihiko Yoshida can do no wrong. The man who was responsible for designing characters from Final Fantasy Tactics, 12, Nier Automata, and so much more. His artwork in Bravely Default is so distinct and it reflects so well in the models, from the unique faces to Yoshida's clear love of the human thigh. In fact, it's because Bravely Default did such a good job translating Yoshida's art into the character models that I'm not totally sold on Bravely Default 2's models. Whilst he's back as the lead character designer yet again, something about the in-game models just seems a little uncanny compared to default ones. Even if it was due to technical limitations thanks to the 3DS, the stylized simplicity really benefited the chibi models. Things such as Mel's being a simple animated line makes them feel more cute, a word I strongly associate with the chibi style, and in general makes them more easy to look at. Now in 2, despite it having a clear graphical upgrade, when you put more detail into the eyes and mouths, it'll put them a step up on the human evolution pyramid, but inadvertently makes them all the more unsettling to me. From a distance, they actually look much better. It's when you get those extreme close-ups that the trailer loves to do, and suddenly I'm like, nah. This isn't just an excuse to rag on 2, by the way. I'm still very excited for it, and I'm sure the designs will grow on me. But Default is a game where it really feels like you're controlling one of Yoshida's designs given life. And being such a big fan of his work, it's part of a reason it gels so well with me. And I can't move on without bringing up the beautiful backgrounds. Sadly, the footage I captured doesn't do them justice, but on a smaller screen they look absolutely gorgeous. You can tell the dev team thinks so as well, as when you leave your character stationary, the camera will zoom out, allowing you to take it all in. These people clearly know how to make a great looking game. For the other positive, I'm gonna ask you all a very simple question. Are you aware that God, yes, the big G, now inhabits the body of a Japanese musician, and I've self-appointed myself as the fucking Pope? Yes, if there's anything to make a random encounter more exciting, it's a good soundtrack. And I'm happy to report that Revo has composed something that goes above and beyond. Originally the leader of a musical group named Sound Horizon, which would spawn a side project named Linked Horizon, Revo wanted to create music for Bravely that felt nostalgic but fresh. Something which, and I quote, evoke the feelings of classic series such as Dragon Quest and Saga. And it's difficult to say if he succeeded, because I can't exactly say his music makes me nostalgic for the classics. Because the soundtrack he's produced is so outrageously Bravely default. His music is so good throughout the entirety of this game that I'd argue it makes up a large part of the title's identity. I remember feeling extremely mixed when Bravely 2nd released and Revo wasn't composing. It just felt alien. This is meant as no disrespect to Rio, by the way. The soundtrack is still good, but the best way to describe my feelings on this is going from Final Fantasy X to X-2's OST. Both of which are great, but boy do I get neck pains and the whiplash. Like damn, this slaps and all, but this is clearly a different child hitting the pots and pans. A few perfect examples I'd like to show you are the characters' themes that play throughout the special moves. Even though a couple may not be my overall favourite tracks, it's still pretty important I let you listen to them for a callback later into part 2. Now, whilst I love these, I swear, Adia's theme reminds me of a mid-2000s British talk show that I'd play when I was homesick from school, and it's bothered me ever since. Knowing that Revo's coming back in Bravely Default 2 and hearing those glorious percussion trumpets blast into my eardrums in the demo made me giddy with joy, as they really did complement the game in a way I don't think he expected, and helped make the gameplay even more exciting. And so, with that, it's time to set the stage for part 2. As mentioned, the upcoming video will be largely retrospective based, and truth be told, I wasn't expecting the video to grow to such a crazy length. Story of my channel's life at this point, I suppose. Being one of my largest scripts to date, I want to make sure everything is polished and isn't slapped together so it'll fit nicely into my monthly schedule. The script's length is part of a reason why there wasn't a video in October at all, so I'm really trying to prioritize making this a fun experience for you all. I might drop a quick 10 or so minute video in the middle so you aren't waiting that long. So I ask for your patience as I get cracking on this, and as mentioned, if you want to help support me during this and get some updates or an early look into the video itself, then go over to Patreon and drop me a pledge. And as I'm at it, I'd love to thank some patrons. Those being Baxter Heel, Caleb Winkler, Grieve Alorn, and Lines of Nines. Bless you all for your continued support. Whilst I'm on a roll, the Coffee with Clemps podcast now has a new home. Season 2 is already well underway with guests such as Kadikarus and Mecha Gamezilla, so go subscribe using the link found down below. Also, Twitch, wow, if you want to watch me drunkenly stumble through games with the grace of a soggy bag of rice, then you'll probably get a kick or two out of it. Okay. Tank controls online. What does that mean? Okay, fucking... I want to make you all proud with my final products, and I can't wait to talk about some of the crazy twists and turns this game takes, the emotional toll our characters go through, and some of the hilarious plot holes it drops into your laps that are so wide and gaping, you stop in your tracks and wonder if they were even intended to be plot holes in the first place. Maybe they were intended to be plot holes. Oh shit, I feel another wrinkle.
Farewell for now.